Dear viewers, fall armyworm. It is very harmful insect and it has traveled a lot from America to Africa and now it has reached to Asia. And we will discuss today all about fall armyworm. Scientifically, it is called as Spodoptera frugiperda. This is the technical name of the fall armyworm. It was actually the native of the Americas, but somehow it has reached Africa in 2016 and now it has spread all over the Africa wherever the maize is grown. And in 2018, it is also identified in Asia and now its march across the Asia is continue. It is very harmful because it is capable of damaging the whole crop field in just 3 days. And the caterpillar of fall armyworm is actually attacking like an army. That's why it is called as fall armyworm. And it is also called as crop invader because they are invading the crops wherever they reach. If we talk about its arrival in Asia, in 2018, first of all, fall armyworm was identified in India and then later on it is reached to Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand and China. So, within very short time, it has traveled a lot. In these countries, it has caused 20% losses in maize crop. That is huge loss in just short period of time. And after that, its traveling is not stopped there. It is still continue to move on, and it is also identified in Indonesia, Japan, Nepal, Philippines, Korea, and Vietnam. So we can say it is very fast and quickly spreading across the Asia. Another important country in Asia is the Pakistan, and recently it has also been reported by the Entomology Department of Plant Breeding and Genetics and the Maize and Millet Research Institute in Punjab. They have identified and claimed that the fall armyworm has been reported in Sindh region of the Pakistan. This is very harmful because it is spreading so quickly. Actually, the moth of the fall armyworm is the nocturnal in nature. These are nocturnal insects which are activated during the night, and it is capable of 100 kilometers flight per night. It can travel or it can fly more than 100 kilometers per night if air is in favorable direction. And in one life cycle, the moth can travel up to 1000 kilometers and they lay eggs in the form of clusters and their clusters are comprising of hundreds of the eggs as it can be seen in the picture. If we talk about the host range, the most preferable host for the fall armyworm is the maize crop and it is damaging the maize crop throughout the life cycle. Right after germination of the maize plant, its damage or its attack can be seen. It is damaging the maize at seedling, vegetative, and even at reproductive growth stages. And the caterpillar usually lives in the hole, so that's why there is special care and attention is needed to identify, to observe, and to control it. If we talk about the alternative host range, so it can feed on more than 80 crops and mostly it prefer among the grasses family, but all major crops are its the alternative host. In the below list we can see that most of the cereals, even vegetables, fruits are its host, so it can feed on the wide range of the host. So we can imagine that how much difficult it is to control because it can feed on lot of the crops. If we talk about that why it is so much threatful for the Asia, Because fall armyworm, once it has arrived in some area, then it is very difficult to control it. Then we have to tackle it, to manage it, or to have some sort of understandings of the management practices, but it is very and the far difficult to eradicate it, and its treatment is very costly and difficult. And if especially we talk about the Asia, the most of the maize is used for the animal feed, in poultry feed, in fodder, even in some portion is used for the human food, and lot of is also used for industrial processing. And the Asia is the biggest consumer in the world, that it is consuming 36% of the world's produce of the maize. So we can imagine that if it prevailed across the Asia and it started damaging a lot, how much proportion of the maize and a lot of the sectors like the poultry sector and the livestock sector will be, and even industrial sector will be disturbed with its long lasting damaging effects. And if we talk about the damage and threat in perspective of the fall armyworm insect, it is also damaging or the threatful insect because it has high reproductive rate. It has about 80 crops in the host range. It can travel 100 kilometers per night, and the generations are continued throughout the year. There is no lagging period in their lifestyle. And interestingly, their natural enemies, which can be used as a biocontrol, they are actually less efficient, or we can say comparatively these are inefficient when we compare it with the efficiencies of fall armyworm. So is there any way to control? Yes, there are some ways to control. For their proper control, there is need for the regular monitoring, identification of the fall armyworm, and there is need to consult with the extension officers to carry out the proper management operations, and it is also needed to adjust the planting duration in order to avoid the attack in the area if it is feasible. Secondly, it can also be somewhat controlled with the installment of the plant pheromones in pheromone traps in the fields, which will definitely attract the moth towards itself. Another approach is use of push and pull companion cropping. In this way, maize is usually intercropped with a crop, another crop that is acting as the insect repellent or working on the pushing technology, and alongside the maize field another crop is planted that is acting as a attractant and the pulling phenomena, so that push and pull companion cropping can helpful to protect the maize, but it is very hard and difficult, time taking, resource taking, and labor taking phenomena. Other ways are to use of the biological control like the parasites, the parasitoids and predators which can kill and feed on fall armyworm. Pesticide sprays could be the solution, and use of resistant varieties can be helpful to control and the attack and the damage of fall armyworm. If we talk about the resistant varieties, actually these can be developed by exploiting the native resistance, by screening the local maize germplasm to identify the resistant varieties, and which will be further manipulated for development of commercial hybrids. And so far as if we talk about the African germplasm, initially the whole germplasm of the Africa was susceptible against the fall armyworm, but recently, International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center has developed partial resistance in maize genotypes. Those are able to control to some extent. But if we talk about the Asia, still there is need to screen the maize germplasm against the fall armyworm infestation in order to identify the resistant varieties, in order to work on the exploitation of native germplasm resistance against fall armyworm. Another way to control the fall armyworm by development of resistance varieties, and that is exploitation of transgenic maize. With the help of genetic engineering, BT maize can be developed which can resist the attack of fall armyworm. Actually, BT is the name of Bacillus thuringiensis, that is an bacteria, and the cry protein or the cry gene is taken from that bacteria and transformed into the maize with the help of genetic engineering tools. And that maize is capable of producing the cry protein, and whenever insects feed on it, this protein acts in the gut of the insect in such a way that it kills the insect. So that is, but there may be some issues in the regulation about the GMO maize in some countries. So that is still a challenge. So actually, no, not a single technique is so much efficient or the perfect to control the fall armyworm. Some are helpful to some extent. So there, the best way to control is the use of integration of these technologies. That is called as integrated pest management. In this approach, actually, cultural practices, genetic exploitation, pesticide applications, and use of biocontrol measures, all these tools are integrated in such a way to maximize the control of fall armyworm. So we can say that in the last, the fall armyworm is very fast and furious because it is spreading so quickly across the Asia, and even it has spread so quickly across Africa, and now it's on the way of spreading across the Asia, and it is damaging a lot in terms of its nature or in terms of its long flying habit. So we can say that it is the fast and furious fall armyworm. Thank you very much.